I'm Anil Kumar sharing with you questions from the previous test papers. Here is the one on relations and functions. We have discussed a couple of them in our videos, and in this particular video we are going to discuss another question. Basically it is question number 1, which says for each of the following relations determine the domain, the range, whether it is a function or not, right? So we have couple of sketches here. One is the mapping diagram, then we have this particular graph. Now whether this graph is a function or not, you can see at -1 it has two values. Do you see that? And that is why it is not a function, right? You can write domain and range for this one. And now in this video I'll discuss with you the function given here. It is again very complicated. F of x equals to -2/5 plus and minus square root of x minus 7 minus 2. So that is the kind of question here. I have simplified this a bit to share with you. So let's discuss that. So the function which I have in my video is kind of like this. For the relation y equals to 5 plus minus x plus 2 within square root. So I have avoided those fractions. And just given you the simple question. Determine the domain, the range, whether it is a function or not. So it's important to understand the concept, and that's the reason why I have simplified it. Okay. Now, to find domain and range for this particular function, what we can do is, there are a couple of alternatives. We can actually sketch the function. That is one thing. Simple thing for domain is that the square root part should always be non-negative. So what should we do for domain? For domain, we can say that x plus 2 should be greater than equal to 0. That gives us the solution. Or x is greater than equal to minus 2. So that becomes the domain, right? So all real numbers. So we have domain here as x belongs to real numbers, so that x is greater than equal to minus 2. Do you get the idea? That is the domain. Now let's talk about range. Range, let me try to sketch this function also, and then we'll discuss its range. It is 5 plus minus square root of x plus 2. So let me write this function as y equals to, normally we see it like this, plus minus square root of x plus 2 plus 5. Do you see that? So 5 is your vertical translation. Square root function has been moved 2 units to the left, so that is minus 2. And it's plus and minus. So basically what has happened here is that the square root function, which normally is kind of like this, has been moved 2 units left and 5 up, right? Let's say it's like this. So it's kind of like this. That is the top part, but it has the bottom part also, which is minus. So it is kind of like this. Do you see that part? So that is how this particular function is. And now I think the answer for the other two parts is very clear. So range here is y belongs to real numbers, right? So it is all real numbers, correct? And whether it is a function or not, you can see a vertical line crosses the function at 2 points, and therefore it is not a function, right? Not a function. It is not a function since it has two values. So if I write x as some value, and let us say if I write x as 2, for example, if I write x equals to 2, then y equals to plus and minus square root of 2 plus 2 plus 5, which is plus and minus square root of 4 plus 5, which is plus and minus 2 plus 5, and that gives you two values, which is 5 plus 2 as 7 and 5 minus 2 as 3. You get the idea, right? So at 2, for example, let's say this is 2. We are getting two values, this one and this one. Do you get the point? So this one is at 3 and the other one is at 7. So it fails the vertical line test, or x value is associated with two values. Do you see that? These are the two values. So it is not a function. Reasons could be that element in the domain is linked with two elements in the range. Do you see that? So since elements, you can say elements in domain are linked with more than one. In range, right? And therefore it is not a function, not a function. If you sketch, you can say vertical line test. So this was vertical line test, that you can say if you sketch. Is that okay? So that is how you can explain why it is not a function. And also you can substitute a value and show that we have x value which corresponds to 3, and let me write 2 which corresponds to 3, and 2 which corresponds 2 that corresponds to 7 also. So that is why it is not a function. I hope that explains you how we can figure out whether this is a function or not. Thank you and all the best.